Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We are finally going to get back to the webinar we were covering. With the holidays, I haven't been on here, and I hope you guys made it through okay. I didn't do anything. I've actually really been struggling with my MD because I did not have anything productive to do. Kind of stuck in the house with family who was off work, and yeah. um, I don't like to record with other people in the house, but I'm trying because it's been a while, and I do need to get back on this. So I've got the door shut. Hopefully, we won't be interrupted, and we'll be able to get through this. I don't know if we'll make it finish. It's a long webinar. We've gotten through two parts, two interviews. So we're going to go look at the third interview. But first, let me pop this up there. Okay, why is it not working? I gotta, wait a minute, I gotta drop that one first. Okay. Oh, here we go. Fair use copyright disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, commenting, which we will be doing, news reporting, teaching, which kind of, yeah, scholarship, yes, and research, of course. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. We are trying to learn from watching this webinar, and so you have been disclaimered. Okay, I'm going to jump back in here. I'm trying to pick up where we left off. She says the next guy's name really fast. I hope I backed up far enough to catch it. Um, I'm hoping I'm not repeating anything. Let's see.
An error. And with that, I have questions for Kyla and Rumsey, but if people either want to join in or put some questions in about what may have worked for you or haven't worked for you, it'd be really helpful. Roland.
Yes, so I can relate to a lot of what you said. And yeah, we are all seemingly very different, right? We're the same. You're hearing these stories and they all come from different angles. I've spent 4 years of CBT trying to figure out what is it that triggered the MD in me, right? Like some of you. And we couldn't come away with anything. I mean, yeah, I grew up in a country that kind of fell apart, and but I grew up in a really sort of loving family. So we couldn't find anything until we realized is that I was born with this hypersensitive brain, right? So I'm a bit on the spectrum, right? So, and this probably was the reason why the MD developed in the first place.
Sorry, I was muted. I wanted to stop because this is interesting. As we talked about before, a lot of people in the group point their MD coming from childhood trauma, this, that, and the other. And remember, I had mentioned that, I didn't have a storybook childhood by no means, but I don't have trauma either. And so I like that this guy is coming from that same place. He's saying, okay, I didn't have the trauma. So where did this come from? And he's saying it's wired in his brain, which mine actually started to be a problem when I turned 48 at the beginning of menopause. So I do think hormones change brain chemistry. And a lot of people also say that it starts to be a problem during their teenage years, which is also a time of hormonal change. So I think that I'm hoping that they are in the research or taking some of these things into account because I think it does matter. So I just wanted to point out that I'm definitely connecting with him on that point.
Because when you have a hypersensitive brain, you're constantly taking everything to the X degree. And it was the protection for me. But I also found later that I have a bit of those OCD traits. And this is what we're seeing in the research that Dr. Headley is doing in London, right? Is that there is a clear cohort of people that have those OCD traits, right? And so it seems like there's people with ASD, ADHD comorbidities, there's people with trauma, there's people with OCD traits. And that is why it's so interesting to bring everyone together, because in one way we're the same, and in another way we came to this MD from different perspectives. So that's point number one. Point number two, I just want to thank you for all the speakers, because I have a daughter with MD, and for me this is such great news that she's going to grow up in an environment, and that there are people out there who now understand and even conduct coaching around this. It's a really, really positive development, I think. I would encourage you to continue your work, because we can do so much for the children as well. So I'll stop here. But I just want to thank you so much for sharing your experiences.
Thank you, Roland. And you mentioned CBT, and I know Kyla, you've tried that and did not find it helpful. I mean, is that something that you're willing to
Yeah,
a little bit?
I mean, again, I think it just highlights that
What
different
was
things work
tapping?
for
Did you hear
different people,
tapping?
because
That was weird.
I think CBT, obviously it's got a huge evidence base across a whole range of mental health stuff, and I think there is even some evidence that it can help in maladaptive daydreaming.
And if you don't know, CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy. And in the file section of the group, I actually did some videos. I actually took a couple of courses in cognitive behavioral coaching, which is not the same as therapy because you're not licensed. It's just coaching. But went through some of the worksheets and stuff, targeting it more toward maladaptive daydreaming. So those videos are linked. Well, they're on this channel too, but they're also linked in the group on Facebook if you wanted to try any of them.
But for me, it didn't, and I think you have to go back to what is the underlying problem here, because CBT, cognitive, it's very thought based, whereas for me, I think I was emotionally dysregulated, and so I needed a therapy that was going to address the emotional side of things. I think it just means working with your doctor to try and find out what's going to be the type of therapy that's going to work for you.
Yeah. And I think it all goes back to we have different origins and different comorbidities. I believe, I
Yeah.
don't like putting words into other people's mouths, but I believe that Dr. Sommer and I are on the same page that we both believe that some people are just born with this ability to have these immersive fantasies, but depending on in life and comorbidities, it can turn maladaptive for some people and not for others. I see a few hands up. Krista first and then Helium.
Hi, sorry, guys. Oh, wait, I'll put my hand down. I don't know how to put my hand down. Sorry, yes, I do. Hi, yeah. So I just wanted to step in as well, since everybody. First of all, thanks, great to see you all and speak with you all. And yeah, and I've met some of you before, I think, because I used to be involved with some of the ISMD stuff. But okay, so for me, for shortly, I just wanted to, I guess, add something in terms of different perspectives, or how everybody's kind of different and how they come to it. So for me, and just because there's so many people, and some things might help others, so that don't help someone else. So for me, I think of it very much as an addiction. Now it starts with, I also have depression and anxiety, and childhood kind of trauma, anyway, issues. And so, yeah, I mean, I've been through therapy pretty much all my life. I'm 52 now, so for anybody young, I'm 52, and I'm still struggling with the urge to daydream maladaptively. But yeah, so, and I think even perhaps maybe with the addictive kind of feelings or whatever, addictive tendencies, I think a lot of that, at least for me, it just has to do with learning to manage my emotions. So like I think Kyla and Rumsey and everybody kind of spoke with that, as like being able to learn to sit with and handle emotions. But so that's an ongoing thing. I'm still going through it. Kyla, I really thought when you're talking about looking for meaning in life, so I can just relate to so much of it. But yeah, the other thing I just want to say is that, if anybody finds they have kind of addictive tendencies, like that's kind of how it is for me. Because I was I had joined Overeaters Anonymous because I developed like a binge eating kind of thing. And then when I stopped that, well, the daydreaming was off and on all the time. But like it was really kind of like a high for me. Like I feel down, depressed, unhappy, life's not meaningful. This was a high, and certainly something I could control. And yeah, so like, but if I managed that, then I found, oh, now I'm on social media. I know a lot of people get addicted to social media, but it seems like for me, it's always like whack-a-mole. Is like, okay, if I get something under control, then something else pops up. Like, so many ways for me to get my high, to get out of feeling bored, to get out of feeling lonely, whatever. So anyway, that's just something else for other people to think about if it relates to them.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much, guys.
I didn't think with the starting off with the whole trauma thing, I didn't think I was going to relate much to her story, but I kind of do in a way, because I mean, I never really thought of myself as an addictive behavior, but that last little bit she said, it's kind of true. You know, I distract myself from daydreaming by either mindlessly scrolling on my phone, on social media, or playing phone games. So, yeah, she's right. It kind of goes from one thing to another to where you're just trading trading what you're doing to occupy your mind. Um, well, the fact that you can switch over multiple things, that I don't know if that makes it an addiction, does it? Because if you're addicted, it's to that one thing, right? I would think. I don't know. But I can kind of, because, yeah, it's not really helping to just trade sitting and daydreaming for sitting and playing the phone game or sitting and scrolling social media. It's still wasting time.
Thank you, Krista. And the addictive, I mean, a lot of the research, and I did some years ago, I was involved in some of the early research. I don't know if we can classify it as addiction, but most people use the word that it feels like it's addictive. And for the mental health professionals who are new to this, it's the people used to ask me, well, can you control it? And I was like, well, it's not like it's schizophrenia, right? It's very important. We know it's not real and we are the one controlling it. But I used to explain, it's like if I was on a diet and there's a half a sundae in front of me, like I really feel like it's a willpower. I really can't control it, but it's not coming from outside of me. It feels like an addiction. And when I did go into that, I had said early on that I had been in an fMRI machine, and that is, they study your brain waves. So they basically told me to daydream. And what they found was that first of all, they thought I was going to be a mind wanderer, which meant any off-task thought, like thinking about what you have to do tomorrow, what you're going to eat for dinner. And it turned out I was not that at all. I did the mind wandering when they told me not to daydream. But when they told me to daydream, they said it was purposeful, constructive thought with imagery, and the same area of the brain lit up that lit up if you showed a heroin addict a picture of drugs. So
Wow.
it definitely has an addictive component to it. So I think that's important. And we're going to go to helium in one other second. One other point that I think Kyla and Rumsey made, while it is true, I don't think I could have overcome it without medication. I do think getting involved in real world activities is extremely helpful. And that's, I hear from kids from all over the world asking questions, and, often you don't want to talk medication with someone under the age of 18. But as many activities in real life that you enjoy. The one time as a kid that I was not daydreaming was when I was involved in like after school drama activities where I could use my imagination for real. And when you're pursuing a real life hobby or something you love, there's no space in your brain to daydream. So
Yeah.
getting involved in
if
as
I'm
many activities in your real
yeah.
life that you
When
really
I'm
like
painting, I don't
certainly helps.
daydream.
Helium.
But daydreaming keeps me from painting a lot.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I wanted to say thank you for all of you for your testimonies, because for me, it really gives me hope. It really gives me hope to still want to fight this kind of problem. So yeah, first of all, thank you, all of you. Your testimonies, I mean, gives a lot of perspective of the things that you can work with or how to approach this problem. So yeah, thank you for all of you. I also had kind of a question when trying to fight this disorder or problem. I know it's kind of new thing is being researched upon. So, but yeah, when fighting this problem, I always come across with the annoying thought of, okay, when I'm trying to interact with people, with making connections with my friends, it always annoys me that all my friends, well, that's how I perceive them, have hobbies, have things that they constructed. And as for me, since I've been MDmer, I mean, I've been daydreaming for such long periods of time, I haven't constructed something meaningful or have hobbies or any sort of personality, and my social skills are very low. So there is a problem when talking about hobbies that, when talking about hobbies, I mean, I see a lot of these people have constructed, have consistent activities and meaningful activities, and I have so much anxiety because, I mean, I'm so shallow in that aspect. My main hobby was to daydream about many different storylines and stuff, and I feel kind of ashamed to share that. I mean, it's not like it's not like they ask me oh, what have you been doing this weekend? I'm not gonna answer, oh yeah, I've been daydreaming about fantasy wars. I mean, that seems kind of embarrassing, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, I cannot shake off that feeling. I know it is never too late to pick up a hobby, and it's not doing productive things, but that thought always holds me back, and it's really awkward when I try to make connections with people. I have to face this kind of thoughts.
Yeah, when they say, "What
are
are you
your recommendations or thoughts
doing?"
about this problem?
I don't
I have some
like
thoughts, but
doing
Rumsey, do you want to? I see you nodding your head. Do you want to take it first, or?
Yeah, sure. So a few things I can say is, yes, maladaptive daydreaming, it could definitely create a feeling of shame and also guilt. Just like you described, where you see other people doing things and you feel, I'm not doing those things, I'm not achieving things. But remember, one thing I can suggest is, because I also noticed you use the word fighting it, as in fighting the daydreaming. I'm going to suggest, I understand why you'd use that word, because it does feel like a never-ending fight. I can appreciate that. One thing you may want to consider is not seeing the daydreaming as like an antagonist, as an enemy, because really it's there as a way to try and protect you. So I could suggest maybe first seeing it in that way, because then it might help to reduce the feelings of guilt and shame, because it's like it may make it feel less like I'm losing a battle every day, and it may help to shift your perspective to, okay, there's a part of me that's trying to protect me, and I need to work with it to figure out what is it trying to protect me from. So that's the first thing I can suggest. That can help to reduce feelings of shame and guilt and not feeling good enough. The other thing I can suggest is, you said you were creating a fantasy world. I'm guessing, have you tried maybe exploring that in more constructive ways, like with writing, which, as we mentioned, lots of maladaptive daydreamers end up exploring writing. Or if not writing, have you tried art?
I kind of like
or acting as mentioned as well. So you may want to also explore
Mm-hmm.
those kind of things. And also you might want to look at how do you feel when you're in the daydreams? Are there patterns? So do they make you feel empowered? Do they make you feel creative? And then see, are there hobbies in the real world that give you those kind of feelings as well? Because it could be that's the emotional need that isn't being met in real life, but the daydreams might be trying to meet that for you.
And I've talked to a lot of people who do have that empowered hero feeling. And yeah, I kind of have that too, because in your real life you feel kind of weak and like you don't have that much control. You don't feel like there's a lot you can do to change maybe your situation or things like that. And in your daydream world, you can have the power to change things. You can make things better for yourself or someone else. And a lot of people have the hero type daydreams to where they're saving the day, and I think we all need to feel like we have purpose, and you know and sometimes it's harder to find purpose in your real life because sometimes it's just mundane, day to day survival kind of, and you don't feel like you have a higher purpose. But I think we all do. We just don't see it, But okay, sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see Valeria's hand, but first I want to say, I think it's actually brave of you for sharing. And the shame is something we've all felt. So I guess I can't speak for everyone, but every MDR that I've ever spoken to, we've felt shame. And I don't know, and especially I felt a lot of shame when I was younger. And if I could go back in time, I would be much nicer to my younger self, because we're all doing the best we can and we're all protecting ourselves the best we can.
Yeah.
And, we're getting up and we're going forward, right? The best we can. And yes, MD is, I'm not making light of it. I hate when people were like, oh, you were so creative. But there is, like, in my experience, the people who I have talked to about it have been extremely intelligent, creative people. So there is another side to it. So it's like, if you can tap into that side, where there is less shame. And then my last advice is, one of the things I tried early on was like trying to stop cold turkey. Never worked for me until I was on a lot of medication, right?
Yeah.
That's actually something we should talk about. But one of the things I suggest is just trying to spend a little bit more time in real life every day, right? Sign up for one hobby to try, right? Try an acting class and say, for 1 hour a week, I'm going to be fully focused on this class. And if that's not for you, then next week try a writing class, or next week just keep trying hobbies and say, like, I am going to spend, next week I'm going to spend 2 full hours fully engaged in something. And then each week raise the number of hours or minutes that you're in real life, as opposed to thinking about the number of hours you're decreasing. Does that make any sense? And then Haley, I see your hand is back up. So you want to go ahead and respond to any of that before we go to Valeria?
Oh, I would prefer like Valeria Franco goes first, then.
Okay, Valeria.
Hi, hello everyone. So yes, I'd like to say something regarding what both Jane and Rumsey has just said, and it's true. It's not really a battle, and it takes time to build something new. Because when we consider maladaptive dreaming as something that we can fight, we are not framing it properly. Maladaptive dreaming is not a choice. So if we consider that just as a daydreaming, we can say to ourselves, okay, tomorrow I want to daydream. I will commit myself not to daydream. And this is all based on willpower. But this is not something that we can fully control. We think that we can control, but we can't. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here talking about that.
True.
It's hard.
True.
It's sort of addiction or a compulsion. So if we rely on the thought that, okay, tomorrow I will do better, I will control it, it's not going to work, because maybe you can do it one day, 1 week, or even 1 month, but life is hard. And next time you are tired or stressed, you will go back to daydream, because willpower only works when you are at your best, when you have full energy. And that doesn't last.
That's a good point.
You know, life is not always easy. And on the other side, as Jane was saying, we need to grow other interests, but we don't, as Kyla was saying before, we don't have those yet, because we are daydreaming all the time. And it's like the daydreaming is such a big part in our lives. So we can't expect just to shut it down and do something else. It's more like, in my experience, it's more like having something like a new branch. We are a tree and we have this huge branch that is maladaptive daydreaming. We can't just take it off. We need to grow a new branch, and we need to try more than one and see which one is stronger. And when this new branch is strong enough, the maladaptive daydreaming branch will dry out little by little, because all the energy will be in the new branch that will be painting, it will be friendship, it will be anything. It doesn't need to be creative. But it's rich, it's full of meaning, and it takes time to grow that. So in my experience, don't be scared, because it takes time. I think it really helps to visualize it as something that needs to grow, it needs to take time. And but it's the only thing to get rid of daydreaming, like little by little taking out energy from it and put it somewhere else.
And shameless.
Can I just? Sorry, Jane, go on.
Just very quick. I mean, one way to not be daydreaming is when you're versed in things like the ISMD, like chat rooms about. You're not daydreaming right now, right? Chat rooms about maladaptive daydreaming or volunteering for the ISMD. I know we got a few people involved in some projects, and when they got involved in those projects about maladaptive daydreaming and became an advocate for maladaptive daydreaming, all of those are hours not spent daydreaming. But go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good point. That reminds me of something else I was going to say as well. Is that one of the ways, because you're right, we do all feel shame about this, and one of the ways to get over shame wants you to hide, and one of the ways to get past that is actually to connect with people. And so organizations like the ISMD, or even just online support groups like Reddit or Discord or whatever, spaces where you can communicate with other maladaptive daydreamers, that's so important in moving past the shame. But the bit I was just going to jump in and say was, as well, when we talk about fighting it, or like you said, some people try to just stop cold turkey or whatever, we're putting the focus in slightly the wrong place there, I think, because then the focus becomes on the daydreaming being the bad thing rather than the maladaptive part of it being the bad thing. I would say you don't overcome the daydreaming, you overcome the maladaptive bit. That's what you need to be focusing on. I mean, I don't think I actually said it in my presentation. I still daydream. It's a huge part of my life, but it's a really positive, healthy thing now, rather than being something that holds me back. And I think when we talk about quitting or stopping or going cold turkey or whatever, you're putting the focus in slightly the wrong place for a lot of people.
That's a good point, because just like when it comes to eating disorders, you can't stop eating. You also don't need to stop daydreaming. Your brain needs this as a human being. It's just part of the way we're wired. We just want to get rid of the maladaptive part and have it be a good part of our life.
That was actually going to be I was going to ask both you and Rumsey about, like, one doctor who told me that, I had to give up the daydreaming completely, kind of like, alcohol, if you're an alcoholic, you have to, and I found that not to be true. I still daydream, but in much more of a controlled way. So I was going to ask both of you your opinions on that.
I mean, I think, for me, it's just the way my brain's wired. I think in stories, it's how I process what's happened to me. It's now a way that I regulate my emotions in a healthy way. It's just, I don't think I'd be functional without it, but I have overcome all the sort of the bad side of it.
Can you explain a little bit, like, what how it's more functional? Like, what's the difference between?
It's a source of motivation now. I was talking about how it took away my motivation, because why do you want to do anything in reality if you can just daydream it? Whereas now it's more like when I was writing the book, I'm like, I want to write a book. And so I will have those mental conversations with my daydream characters, almost using them like substitute therapists or something, and I get them to encourage me. So that's one way I can do it. And just on the emotional side as well, I think another thing that sometimes people don't want to acknowledge is that the emotions that you experience in the daydream, they are real. Even if you've made up a fictional character, and I see people on social media saying, they feel really stupid for having an emotional connection with somebody they invented. But actually, if that's real and it's a positive force in your life, why not use it? There'll be times with anyone in real life. I mean, I'm married, I've got kids. There are times when I have some sort of tension with the people in my family, but I've always got that huge source of love with my daydream characters that I can sort of tap into, and that enables me to show up as a more loving, compassionate human being in my real life relationships, because I know I've always got that.
That's amazing. Rumsey, I see you nodding your head. Do you agree we don't have to stop daydreaming completely?
Exactly, yeah. So I've always had a very visual way of thinking and a strong imagination, even since I was a child, which maybe is why daydreaming was one of the coping mechanisms. But yeah, now daydreaming is just part of my thinking process. I don't always use it, but I know it's a way my mind can use to think. So if I'm trying to conceptualize something, I don't do very well. Like, let's say I'm going to go and buy food from the shops. I don't do well memorizing the words, but I do well if I memorize the images of what I'm going to buy. And that's technically using a type of daydream.
Oh, that's a
But if
good
I also
idea.
try to understand something or read something, daydreaming will happen. But the difference is it's under my control. And yeah, I can relate to the idea if you have characters in my mind, but they are like extensions of my thinking. And I know they're not real. I know it's just my brain is using these characters because it's in a way almost like more effective to have a dialogue with them in my mind to figure something out. But I know it's not real. I know it's just a form of thinking.
I mean, for me, I know the difference, like for me, pre-medication and post-medication is that, you know, when I used to daydreaming, if someone would interrupt me in the middle, it would be so hard and so stressful. Or, I mean, when I live in New York City, so I take the subway, I would used to like hide from friends who were leaving work at the same time so that they wouldn't walk with me to the subway so that I could, you know, have my daydreaming time. And now I actually like wait and seek out friends to go with. Or, I mean, I met my niece for brunch a couple weekends ago and it was a beautiful fall day. I daydreamed the entire walk. But when I got to the restaurant, I hadn't finished the daydreaming, but I saw my niece and I was just happy to see her. And I just went on with my day. Whereas in the prior to the medication, I would have had to run to the bathroom and I had to finish the story. So I'm still daydreaming, but it doesn't feel that compulsive. Like I let it go. It comes in when I'm like absolutely bored and then goes back again. A question I have for both of you, although Rumsey, did you want to share any slides? Because I want to make sure we save time for that. But
I didn't do slides.
Okay. A question I have though then for both you and Kyla is we talked, I think before we officially started about mental health professionals don't know about maladaptive daydreaming, and so many much have been told, you know, don't believe everything you read on the internet. It's not a real disorder. But yet you both, I think, had some, you know, help from mental health professionals. So how do we go about finding mental health professionals when no one knows about maladaptive daydreaming?
Okay, so you okay if I go first, Rumsey?
Yeah, you can go first. Yeah.
I mean, in my case, although therapy was a huge part of my recovery and I probably couldn't have done it without, it was, you know, as I said, for me, I had to cure my depression and my maladaptive daydreaming at the same time. And yeah, I did say cure deliberately there. I know that's a word a lot of mental health professionals get a little bit anxious about saying cure, but you know, that's how it feels to me. The work that I did in therapy was always mainly focused on the depression because that's what therapists do know about and can be very helpful with. So although therapy was crucial to me, it was always more focused on overcoming the depression. And I think, therefore, for me, it didn't matter if my therapist didn't know what maladaptive daydreaming was. I mean, for one thing, if they're a good therapist, they should be willing to listen to your experience and learn how this is showing up for you, even if they haven't come across it before. But also, if you're trying to work on the underlying issue as well, then find a therapist that can help you with that. Because then that frees up, you know, so I was managing depression and maladaptive daydreaming together. So that's two mountains to climb, if you like. If I've got a therapist that can help me with the depression side, that means I've got more headspace to then work on the maladaptive daydreaming side. So I think if you've got multiple things going on, then, you know, you can use therapy to work on the other things.
Yeah, I see a few hands, but Rumsey, do you have anything to add or do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. Like you don't necessarily need a specialist in maladaptive daydreaming. With the therapist I work with, they kind of got the idea of what it was, but it was never the focus. It was more focused on resolving the anxiety, depression, and depersonalization. So I agree with Kyla on that. You don't necessarily need a specialist, but someone who's open-minded to generally understand the daydreaming.
That's and I see a few hands, but that's
talk to
exactly
them
what I say. Keep in
about-
mind, most mental health professionals will not have heard about it. It is not in the DSM. It is not recognized anywhere. It is not taught in any psychology program or any medical school. So you can't expect a mental health professional to have heard of it, but you can expect them to be open-minded. If they tell you there's no such thing and it doesn't exist, then I would recommend going to someone else. Instead, you want to show them the articles. The ISMD has a whole page full of empirical articles. If they're not willing to read and learn about it, then it shows that they're not open-minded and you maybe want to try someone else. But
True. I agree with that. And yeah, we've talked about in the group, we've talked about how it's probably better so they don't dismiss your symptoms or your, what is the word? Symptoms might not be the right word, but when you're talking to a therapist or a doctor, so that they take you serious. Sometimes it's I've suggested to people, don't say anything about, I mean, don't even mention the word maladaptive daydreaming. Don't say anything about that at all. Talk about the what it's doing to you. If it's making you distressed, or like she said, if you know what the underlying issue is, depression, anxiety, things like this, you can bring that up, but also talk about what it's causing in your life. Not necessarily what it is, but okay, it's causing anxiety. You know, these I use words like intrusive thoughts, these mind wandering, things like that, that they do understand, and talk about what it's doing to you. Okay, this is causing a lot of stress and anxiety in my life. It's causing me to waste a lot of time. These kind of things, like she's saying, yeah. Because they can actually help on those things, and getting those things under control, I think ultimately will
but finding
help.
someone who specializes in whatever your comorbid condition is I think what you really need to do. Ines.
Yes, hi. I just want to, well, I want to start thanking you all. It means a lot. It means everything to know that you're not the only person in the world with this. I can just start with a bit of my history with MD. I am 24, so young, and I have been daydreaming really since I can remember. Maladaptive dreaming perhaps the last 10 years, and I found about MD in 2020 and have been sort of ignoring it until recently. So I'm sort of in the threshold of trying to take back control of my life. Kyla's book helps a lot, so thank you, Kyla.
Thank you.
I sort of a question and half reflection. One thing that I find the hardest when being in a daydream is this emotional attachment to the story, to the characters. Like you're in the middle of action. I can seriously, I can feel it in my body. And even if there's a part of me that says, Ines, this is not real, you have to, especially recently, you have to snap back out of it. It almost always pulls me back, which then leads afterwards when I'm aware that I've lost that Russian time, then it leads inevitably to shame and guilt and everything we've been discussing. So this emotional attachment, do you have any sort of advice on how to manage that during, I suppose this long-term healing process is of course one way, but some quick like way of managing it in a moment. If you have any ways to, how did you do it, for example, if you felt the same? That's my question.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, no, Rumsey, you go.
Okay, I was going to make two suggestions. So I can suggest one thing I used to do to get out daydreams faster, which might sound weird, was I would imagine the daydream being on like a TV or like a YouTube video, and I would imagine myself fast forwarding it. So I would still be experiencing the daydream, but faster. And for some reason, my mind was able to accept that. Not always, but and so I can suggest is try that, where you're increasing the speed of the daydream a little bit more each time, because I think that will possibly allow your mind to little by little let go of it faster. And the other thing I could suggest is purposefully ending the daydream earlier and then allowing yourself to sit with the discomfort, which will be difficult at first. But when you do that little by little, you're kind of weaning yourself off the daydreaming, but also training your body, I can feel the discomfort as well.
Yeah, I would sometimes you need a good cry. So if like you let a character die, then let yourself cry. But then you do have to then it goes back to setting goals for the day. Okay, okay, I've cried. Now I have to go back and I have to turn my attention to the real world. But I do agree with sitting, which is so hard, but I do agree with sitting with the emotion for a while.
And one thing I found, which is really weird, actually. It sounds mad, but it's really hard to daydream when your characters are not cooperating with you. So if you know that you actually need to stop daydreaming and say go and do some studying or something, but you don't want to, you want to keep daydreaming, you imagine your character saying to you, no, sorry, you've got to go study now. You can't carry on with the daydream when your character is telling you to do something else. And it sounds weird, but I found that really worked for me.
Yeah, that worked for me too. Actually, like I did that too. You have to go ahead and do it now. And then planning things, right? Planning to meet a person for lunch at a certain time, right? Like even as much as I daydream like one a group, if you're talking one-on-one, it's hard to daydream. So plan to attend an ISMD meeting, plan to meet a friend for lunch, plan to meet someone that you met in one of these chat rooms. So you have a hard stop, but you have to stop daydreaming at the moment. We are ending at 12:30. I'm happy to stay on for people who have individual questions. I don't know if Kyla and Rumsey have the time to do it. I did want to
I can stay for a little while.
Okay, because I think Hilliam still has his hand up, and I think there might be one other, and there were some questions in the chat. But also feel free to jump off, whoever needs to at 12:30. I do want to make one last pitch for the ISMD. In the beginning, I was letting people in the room, sending people the link, trying to record, and so I don't even remember what I said. But a few people in the chat mentioned the DSM. The only way it's ever going to get in the DSM is if we continue to advocate for it. There's a small but mighty team of researchers around the world trying to continue the work on it. And frankly, if it were not for them, there would not even be like any research or any recognition of MD. And really the only way that's going to happen is if we keep advocating for it. So that is a pitch to join the ISMD. We have lofty goals, one day sending people to research conferences, to training mental health professionals. But it's hard to do when we have like very little money and are all volunteers. So we're looking for more volunteers. We're looking for members. It's a nominal cost to join, and even just a small donation. So I'm going to put the ISMD link again in the chat, as well as both Rumsey's and Kyla's personal blogs where you could get more information on them. So
I definitely suggest you subscribe or get the membership to their website. It is very low cost, and they're doing such a wonderful job getting awareness out there. So definitely go and check them out and get on their newsletter. And like I said, it's a very small amount of membership fee, and it really, really helps. So I definitely suggest you do that.
I'll say this is the official end of the program here, but we will stay on to take questions. And I really do want to thank Kyla and Rumsey. I've talked to a lot of people about MD, but the two of you are particularly inspiring and helpful.
Okay, so that is the end of their presentation. Let me see if I can move that. Okay, and I'll take my chickens off. But I like my chickens. Hope y'all don't mind about that. Okay, I'm still trying to find where my screen share is. Okay. There we go. All right, close that out. Now, okay, well, that was very interesting. So that's the third. If you didn't see the other two, we're just going through it and kind of talking about it as we go. It was a very good webinar, and the replay is on their website, the Maladaptive Daydreaming Society website. It's linked in the description, and the whole and the question and answer part, the entire webinar is there if you want to listen to it in your entirety. And this is under, I'm trying to tell you, if you're there on their site. Oh, let me show you. Okay, I'm going to do screen share again. So I'll show you how to get there if you want to. Let me see. I got to do add to screen. Okay. I'm going to just go ahead and pop this up. So you can see this is their, I'm in the events. I want to show you how I got to the events because I have to look every time. So it's under insights. So when you go to their home, this is what it's going to look like. And it tells you some of the things that they've been doing. And a chance to become a member or be a volunteer in upcoming events. And let's see, go up. So, okay, so home. And this is some information if you're just doing research or you want to know more about it. Under insights, all the way down to webinars. That's where you're going to find this recording if you want to watch. See, here's this one is Overcoming Maladaptive Daydreaming. What has worked, what hasn't worked. That's the one we've been looking at. And when you click on it, it's going to show you that if the event has passed, but if you scroll down, you can find the recording. So yeah, that's how you get to it. So if you want to listen without my commentary and just listen to the whole thing. And they have other ones on here too that I haven't gone over. A lot of very interesting stuff. And it talks about the people who are involved. And they've got their blog posts. Yeah, get on that site. There's a lot of wonderful, wonderful information. So I just wanted to share that. So I'm going to remove that from the scene. And now I got to get all my stuff back. I'm not sure where did I lose my background. There we go. I know this is weird looking, but I kind of like it. All right, so I don't. Oh, that's the screen share is still there. Okay, I wonder why. I would like to have a better animated background, but I haven't found one yet. And I'm not sure what would go well with the topic. What do you think? I don't want to be a clinical. I don't know. If you have any ideas, let me know. But I'm going to go ahead and get off of here. I've got to get groceries because I have avoided going to the grocery store for the last week because of all the people Christmas shopping. And I'm going to just I'm going to order it and pick it up because I don't want to go in because everybody's going for their returns today. And I'm an introvert and I want to avoid people. So, okay, guys, thank you so much for hanging out and being part of the channel. I really appreciate you. So I am going to drop off now and see you later.